Yes, the Mighty Minis forming up on the grid ahead of their 20-minute race, the first of two 20-minute races today for the 750 Motor Club Mighty Mini Championship, racing with the 750 Motor Club as the permit holding club for the first time this season, first time this weekend. Although I think we've only got them as many weekends as we had them for the last few years anyway. 4 weekends with us, and they're racing with other clubs as well at different events. But we are very pleased to have them as part of the 750 Motor Club fold, and it's a new set of regulations for this season. You've probably seen in the past few years had Super Mighty Minis and we've had Mighty Minis. They've had 2 races going on at once, but they've brought them all together now into one set of revised technical regulations, which we can tell you perhaps a little bit more about as the race goes on. But already we're into the countdown procedure. There is a green flag lap for these cars, but there is a yellow flag now being waved because one of the cars, it seems, towards the back of the field might be in trouble as the green flag lap gets underway. You will notice there is a gap on the second row of the grid. That unfortunately is where Graham Shepherd should have been, but he had a nasty off in qualifying this morning and unable to take part in the race. So we're at least one car down. I think we should therefore have 17 cars starting this first race of the day. In this order, Steve Rideout it is in the number 7 car that is on pole position, and alongside him is going to be number 15 Ian Slark. On the second row of the grid, there's no number 9 Graham Shepherd, but we do have number 43 Ben Butler on the outside of the second row of the grid. Row 3, number 58, Ollie Samways, a champion 2 years ago in the Mighty Mini class, has besides him number 44, Trevor Peters. On the fourth row of the grid, it's 33, which is Will Tyrrell. And besides him is going to be number 32, which is James Jenkins. Wait for the graphic to catch up with me there. Row 5 of the grid, 24 is Tao Butler, and 93, Sam Slater. Row 6, 55, Ruben Veludo, and 40, Chris Didcott. The 7th row, 11, Nev Kirkpatrick, and 64 is John Jenkins. The 8th row of the grid is 6, Paul Hollett, and 13, Morgan Bartley. The 9th row, 88, Claire Jeffries, and 38, James Bryan, and 61, Matthew Baker at the back of the grid for this 20-minute race for the Mighty Minis, Josh.
Yeah, the grid sort of sees some of those regulars from the supers at the front, but also mixed in with some quick mighty drivers from the past. They all now merged into this same regulation set, which should make, from a visual point of view, more exciting racing with more cars at the front in these tricky conditions. Maybe a qualifying session where not everyone went as quickly as they wanted to, with the shortened session after that incident for Graham Shepherd. But the likes of Steve Rideout and Ian Slark were always regulars at the front overall. Maybe someone to watch for will be Will Tyrrell, who you mentioned there starts 7th, but actually set the second quickest time in qualifying. But a penalty since then has dropped him down on the grid, but he should be quick, you'd think. The 25-year-old from West Sussex, who's only been racing for a couple of years, that was the novice champion on his debut season. Will Tyrrell may be one to watch from row 4. But what about Nevin Kirkpatrick? We'll see if he's there, because he only did a couple of laps in qualifying. He's down in 13th position, the 4-time Super Mighty Mini champion. Surely, if he's there, he's going to be one to watch.
Yep, so cars back on the grid. These are post-1976. Could be mini saloons, there could be clubman saloons or clubman estates as well. They've got a safety devices, 6-point roll cage, bolt-in roll cage, competition seat, plums-in fire extinguisher, polycarbonate side and door and rear screen. The front screen is laminated. 3-branch manifold exhaust with a single silencer. 1293 A+ engine block. With an upgraded camshaft, adjustable vernier timing gears, and a Proverto light and flywheel as well. But problems here, Josh, for the car on pole.
Yeah, you saw a yellow flag on the green flag. That was a much bigger yellow flag this time for a significant driver. So Steve Rideout won't be going from pole. A big shame for the driver who prepared so many of the cars. And where the car is now would kind of suggest the race might not be getting underway.
Yeah, they can't start the race with the car there, can they? So they want to, if they can, try and get it off the grid.
It's driving away now.
It's driving away now. Where's he going?
Well, I wonder if he might even take the start, but perhaps behind everybody else. A real shame, though, for the Octane Racing boss, as I say, prepares a lot of the cars on the grid. Does this mean we're going to get a delayed start now?
Yeah, the marshal who had been heading back to his post is now heading back over to Rideout's car. I'm not quite sure what the plan was there. I expected the plan might have been to get it up against the barrier. Yeah, he's saying, yeah, you need to get over here, mate. Up against the barrier. Marshall's clambering over the concrete barrier as well. So a couple of gaps on the front row of the grid. Then that does leave the way open then for the likes of Ollie Samways from row 3 of the grid in the number 58 car to try and find a way through if he can at the start of this 20-minute race for the Mighty Minis Championship. Yeah, I think we do have a notification of a delay to the start, so whether we'll get another green flag lap here or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, safety car's going back out of position, which would suggest there'll be another green flag lap, which is getting underway now.
Yeah, so second green flag lap getting underway.
This might well be the start of the race time.
Yeah,
well.
it is. They've started the countdown, so the time that it takes them to do this green flag lap will effectively be deducted even from the race time that they have. So it's in Ian Slark's interest and those of the other competitors to try and make it reasonably speedy to maximise the race time that they do get.
The track's got a lot wetter, hasn't it, since the previous race? For those here listening to us on the B8 Donington Park will be well aware of that, but in a dry room where the windows don't get wet, it's hard to tell how much it's actually raining. But,
you can see on the tarmac just in front of us, the red tarmac at the end of the pit lane. There's some big spots of rain as the rain does continue to fall, and of course Andy and the drivers had the umbrellas up in pit lane after the previous race as well.
The advantage this side, the drivers have a roof, so they won't be getting as wet in the cars, but then you've got the problem of perhaps steaming up, particularly in these classic minis. That could be a problem. So it's going to be Ian Slark then who will go from, in reality, pole position. The driver from Bristol, who's been racing for a couple of decades. He's won a Mighty Minute Championship. He's won a couple of Super Mighty Minute Championships. As Steve Rideout is able to drive back to the pit lane.
He's now driving the wrong way up the pit lane, but it may well have been instructed to do that.
Let's hope so, otherwise he might be having an even worse day than he already was. Ian Slark's in a car built by Tim Harbour, a long-time historic mini racer himself. So here be who he only qualified, or was the third quickest driver in qualifying, wasn't he? But he's now alone there on the front row of the grid with Ben Butler just behind, the driver from Hertfordshire, whose son is having his racing debut today, isn't he? Tao Butler, who's had a good qualifying inside the top 10 in his first ever race in car number 24.
Yeah, last year's champion David Kirkpatrick, he's not on the grid, is he, this weekend? He won the Super Mighties last year by the margin of 2.7 points, as you would, in Mighty Mini racing. The Mighty Mini champion, though, was Sam Slater. He is on the grid, and he lines up on the outside of row 5 of the grid, but that effectively now is 8th, isn't he, with a couple of cars not taking the start ahead. So we'll see what he can do there. And he and Ollie Samways were the two sort of most winning drivers last year in the Mighty Mini division, weren't they? Ollie, though, didn't do all of the races last year, so didn't defend his 2023 title, the From Sport Specials racer.
That's right, finished third in class in that championship 7 years ago now, would you believe? He's also raced in historics. I saw him out in the Classic Sports Car Club opener and an MGB, and we'll watch out for him with that big gap ahead of him, ahead of what is going to be about 17 minutes of racing for the opening round of the season.
Indeed, just under 17 minutes it will be then for the Mighty Minis. After that delayed start in the second green flag lap. There's the 5-second board being shown. Klaxon goes as well. We'll get the red lights on and lights out now, and the Mighty Mini race gets underway. It's a good start by Ian Slark from the front row of the grid in the number 15 car. Ollie Samway not really able to capitalise on those gaps in front of him. He's got Ben Butler alongside him in the black and white and pink car as they head into Redgate Corner for the first time, and it's going to be Butler that's second. Samways is in third place as they sweep through Redgate Corner for the first time. Do they all get through safely? It looks like they probably do, but it's been a very good start by Butler, hasn't it? Because he's pulled away from Samways now and he's chasing after the driver that started on the front row of the grid, Ian Slark. That's
right, Slark's got a bit of a gap himself, so the battle really on for third position there between Ollie Samways and a quick starting Sam Slater from the fifth row of the grid, his rival from last year. There is Will Tyrrell. Don't think he made such a good start. The driver who was second fastest in qualifying this morning before the penalty was applied. And they go through the kink and head up towards Sean's Curve, and McLean for the first time in the top two have really got away. Big twitch from 24. Howard Butler, great start from him in his first ever race. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, that's an excellent start. Let's see if he can maintain this performance as the first lap in the remaining 16 minutes or 15 and a half minutes as it now is of this race unfold. They are turning their way out of McLean's and through Poppy's corner now for the first time.
I was trying to spot if Nevin Kirkpatrick had made a start, but perhaps he hasn't.
Yeah, I've not had any information on the screen here, but they're making their way down. In fact, I don't think he did, looking at the live timing, but can't confirm that at the moment. Up the inside, there goes the 44 car, which is Trevor Peters making a move on number 93, which is Sam Slater, the Mighty Mini champion from last year. That's through the Robert Chicane, but Ben Butler it is that has come through with a good lead. So what has happened to Ian Slark?
We haven't caught that, have we? He hasn't come through. I checked out the window. He also didn't see Ian Slark there, and he hasn't completed the first lap. And
he's pulled to the left at Starkey's Bridge, I think, is the answer to that question.
This is a different car that we can see.
Different car we can see returning.
Right, so these wet conditions are not helping the reliability, seemingly, of these minis. So about a second. Could we get a Butler 1-2 out of this? Well, there's 2 on the podium so far, but Ollie Samway's under intense pressure from the newcomer here.
Yeah, so you've got Ben Butler leading, Ollie Samway second, Hal Butler in third, Trevor Peters in fourth. Hazard board is covering the stricken car of Ian Slark, so it sounds like he has a reliability issue on the opening lap of the race.
Right behind these 2, Trevor Peters and Sam Slater were side by side heading through McLean's. Looks like Peters has just been able to hold on to that. The driver from Somerset has been racing since 1975. Before several of the drivers were born racing in this category. He's a massively experienced driver is Trevor Peters. And he's now on a self-prepared car. Some of the cars are prepared by teams, some are prepared by the drivers themselves. Out of a second between Ollie Samways and Tal Butler then. Samways ahead, the driver from Norfolk, who's been a class winner in road sports in the past, as well as classic sports car club racing as well. He is mentioned as 2023 class champion, but he can't live with the pace of Ben Butler today, who is 5 seconds up the road.
The other car that we lost on the opening lap was that of Paul Holly, the 72-year-old time surveyor from Plymouth in his 5th season of racing in the Octane Racing prepared car. But here comes Tal Butler challenging Ollie Samways for second as they go through Redgate Corner. These 2 about 5 seconds behind the racing to Ben Butler. And then you've got
James Jenkins, who had made the progress run a little wide at Redgate Corner.
I think he might have been right, yes. So he's lost a little bit of ground.
He was the second quickest driver on the circuit, though, so James Jenkins at 32 might be one to watch here.
Yeah, so lost a few on the opening lap. Ride out, of course, Slark, Collett, and also the 38 car as well is out of the race. But we've got 13 that are continuing. On to lap 3 of the race we now go. Here's the fight for second. Windscreen wipers working hard here in these persistently wet conditions that we have at Donington Park today. First time we've had rain like this in a little while in this part of the country.
Just wonder if it's making the track even more slippery than it would normally be in wet conditions as well, Ian.
Well, I think there's probably a very good chance that it is. The drivers being pretty cautious here on the best lap pace, 1:43.6 for Ben Butler on his first flying lap, so a little bit slower than what they're usually doing. It's 1:35s for the fastest cars in qualifying.
It was damp and even anyway, so it's significantly slower than that now. The battle of the second continues. Tal Butler making great impressions on his racing debut today, but Ollie Samway's under plenty of pressure. There's Trevor Peters and behind James Jenkins at 32. James is 22 years of age. Another family team, as John Jenkins is out there as well. His dad. Down into Redgate Corner. These 2 now lapping similar pace to Ben Butler, but Butler was just able to get down to those lap times much quicker than Ollie Samways and Ben's son here as they turn their way through Hollywood. They are not being caught by Trevor Peters, but he's also lapping in very similar times. Although the gaps are a bit near, actually the lap times are very similar.
Yeah, they are, and these conditions, of course, have really split the race up a little bit than otherwise have seen in Mighty Ones, where we used to get a big pack of cars all together using the tow, using the slipstream, but these conditions not lending themselves as well to that kind of racing, and also probably creating a bigger disparity between some of the more and less experienced drivers. Although, having said that, Tao Butler having his first race in the Mighty Minis is going very well indeed. And the gap from first to second, it was 5.4 at the beginning of the lap. I don't think it's getting any bigger than that. I wonder if it might even come down a little bit on this lap as well, between Ben Butler and Ollie Samways in second. Ben, who's 40, damp proofer from Hemel Hempstead, been racing for 10 years.
What a job today.
Certainly is. I hope he's damp proofed his car effectively. Down towards the Robert chicane goes the back of the second. Ollie Samways still working hard here to keep Ben Butler at bay, but there's not really advanced a move as such as yet, but there's still nearly 10 minutes of the race left to go. Bearing in mind it was about a 16 and 3/4 minute race when it belatedly got underway. The gap from first to second did come down by half a second to 4.9 seconds now. And it's James Jenkins in 5th place who's just done the best lap of the race at 1:42.456. So on that lap he laps more than a second faster than the race leader.
And he's recalled Trevor Peters after that moment that I caught at Redgate Corner. So Jenkins then puts in pressure on Trevor Peters as they head down the trainer curves. Peters, who also races in the Classic Sports Car Club Swinging 60 series, just ahead of James Jenkins, the 22-year-old who was the runner-up in his first season of racing in 2022 in the championship. And he's got a good run here out of the old hairpin. He's roaring up alongside Trevor Peters. Can't quite find the space there though. There's plenty of spray being kicked up by these small cars. So you can only imagine if we had sort of winged single-seaters how bad the spray would be today. Down into, or up into McLean's rather they go, and Trevor Peters still ahead. Kind of conscious not to want to defend too hard, knowing that they were catching the two ahead, but equally wants to hang on to his 4th position, which he's able to do at this stage from James Jenkins in the Jenkins Motorsport Mini, the championship winning car from 2021, before James got hold of the car the following season. Unable to make progress. He's got the pace, but difficult to overtake, as you were mentioning earlier, Ian. Perhaps offline it's even more slippery, and therefore a challenge to make positions up. And he's sideways, as we say that, through the Robert chicane. Yeah,
so through they go again. Leaders have already, of course, crossed the line. The gap for the leader has come down again by another 4/10 of a second. That time it was Peters that's done the best lap of the race at 1:42.270. Now it's still as close as ever was between the second and third, and they touch as they go into Redgate Corner. Both of them spin, and the position's handed on plate to Trevor Peters, and now it's James Jenkins that has spun, and he's gone into the gravel, whereas the other two didn't. Jenkins, I don't think he's going to get out of there, and whether he went off in sympathy or there was something down on the circuit or what, I don't know, Josh. The first two, Samways and Butler, have both got going again. I don't think they've lost all that many places.
No, Trevor Peters would have snuck through, but probably no more, because there was a 20 or so second gap behind. But that was quite dramatic, wasn't it? There at Redgate Corner, maybe some inexperience from Tal Butler there, and this is going to cause a caution in this race as well. The safety car is immediately being deployed, the car right on the edge of the track at Redgate. Not the right conditions to put in marshals out near the edge of the circuit today. We've seen how tricky it is. In most of qualifying sessions had cars off. We had a big incident in the Mighty Mini qualifying that saw so many spins in the first race. There is the Butler car.
Yeah, looks like there's a bit of damage on the front, isn't there? Well, it wasn't. There was a touch there, but not very heavy touch, just enough to send both cars around, and it doesn't need much in these conditions, of course. Safety car, as you can see, now heading out of the pit lane. The Hyundai safety car. Hyundai supporting Motorsport Vision, the circuit operator, with safety cars and course cars and so forth from all of the MSV venues now. So that will wait till the end of the pit lane to pick up the race leader, which is Ben Butler, of course, number 43, still in the lead of this race. There's 6 minutes to go. The snatch vehicle, you can hear it ploughing its way through the gravel, is out onto the scene now, and hopefully, because it's so close to the incident, it won't take too long to clear this and we'll get at least one more racing lap out of this race, Josh.
Minis aren't too heavy either, are they? They're going to drag it to the side or try and get the driver James Jenkins back into the race. Trevor Peters has got a really good opportunity here, hasn't he? He's got the pace. He's lapped second faster than Ben Butler has in this race on the restart to try and go for the win, which is, I don't think, something that Trevor Peters has done recently in the Mighty Minis Championship, if at all.
No, so yeah, looks like an interesting conclusion to this race in prospect. 5.5 minutes of it left to go.
She suspected Samways and Talbot are still going in third and fourth positions, and also are quick.
Yeah, you can't write them off from a victory here either, can you? So it's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to get very many race laps. We might get a couple. The snatch vehicle, I can see from our conf box, is just on the point of dragging the James Jenkins car out of harm's way behind the barriers where the lodge used to be.
I think we still have reverse grids in Mighty Minis.
I've not checked the calculations on that.
But assuming we do, we might have much a more unusual drivers be starting for pole position, where maybe they will have pole in the class before, but not an overall pole position, which is possible for the race later on today.
Right, we've got James Jenkins back on the tarmac, so whether they're going to say we'll get back out into the race or not, I'm not quite sure. That's where they've taken him. Safety car continuing to lead them around them. Ben Butler, number 43, leading the way to some karting with the likes of Lewis Hamilton and actually Sutton back in the day, did Ben Butler. Self-built car and an engine for Ben in the lead of the race. Trevor Roberts there in second in 44 we talked about. But yeah, Jenkins on the inset there, you can see on the live stream, is heading back out onto the track. Is one lap down, I want to say.
Yeah.
As a result of that.
So that means assuming the recovery vehicle can peel in, we can go race at the end of this lap, which should give us at least 2 goes around the circuit. See some drivers a bit difficult to see out of the front window screen there for Ruben Veludo, the driver from Portugal, making his UK racing debut today, and well, the UK's developed very much for him, hasn't it, here at Donington Park. But great to have him on the grid.
Absolutely, insurance broker. Racing since 2020 in Portugal. It's a 1992 car, an ex-team Tuckley car that went over to Portugal in 2016 and has been raced over there. See the drivers weaving to get some heat into the Yokohama control tyres that the Mighty Mini class races on. Looks like, I think, are they going to be released this time? Yes, they are. Lights are off on the safety car, so the safety car will pull in and the race will get back underway. Now, it wasn't the greatest restart that by Trevor Peters, was it? It's given Ben Butler a 2-second lead as the race gets back underway, which is a bit of a shame. I'm sure Ollie Samways is also thinking that, because I would like to have been a bit closer to the lead than that. Sam Slater is the one that's making a move. He's gone up the inside of Tal Butler, who nearly spins it again at Redgate Corner, but just about collects it back up again. But it's his dad, Ben, who's got a very handy lead as they head down the Craners. Yeah,
you can see Ben's sort of experienced driver at the front of races, can't you? Side by side between his son and Sam Slater. Slater's on the outside and Butler's massively sideways again. Just wonder if it's knocked his confidence what happened prior to the safety car when it was going so well for Tal Butler. But now Sam Slater wasn't that quick prior to the safety car. Was absolutely flying. He's alongside Ollie Samways as they go through Starkey's Bridge, and Samways out on the wetter part of the track there has to lose lots of momentum, and that allows Tal Butler to come through as well. So Sam Slater, who started the restart in 5th, is up, well, he was up into 3rd, but Tal Butler's passed both of them on the run up towards McLean's, and he's back into 3rd again.
Yeah, so it's his dad in the distance up at the top of the hill, turning right into Coppice Corner. It's Trevor Peters in 2nd, but it is now Tal Butler 3rd, and it's Sam Slater that gets Coppice all wrong. Straight off into the gravel trap. He's going to get out of it though, but enjoying everything lost. I think just 1 place as a result of that. Matthew Baker it is from the back of the grid that's come through into 5th position, I think, as a result of all of that. So he's had a good drive through the field. They're going to get 1 more lap, I think, at the end of this one. And look at this. This is a proper mini race. Josh, 4 all together.
Yeah, you've got John Jenkins in there, haven't you, as well as Chris Didcot and Ruben Veludo, the man from Portugal, making his UK debut today, trying to gain a place down the inside of Chris Didcot, the East Sussex man, the former novice champion in the Mini 7 Racing Club, moved over to Mighty Minis. But with 1 lap to go, 4 seconds is Ben Butler's gap. So he's just able to get down to the pace much quicker than all his rivals are, seemingly. Not sure what happened to Ollie Samways in all of that, because he's lost a lot of time as well. We saw him run wide at Starkey, lost a lot more time on the circuit to that as well. But he is still there in 4th position and will be hoping to pick up some crucial early points in this championship season where others have had problems.
That's right, it's a 14-round season for the Mighty Minis. Double headers at all 7 events that they have. They go to Silverstone next in 3 weeks' time, which is also the 750 Most Club programme. Here, though, is the 55 car of Veludo then, coming through in 9th position. Promising debut in the UK for Ruben, which has been good to see, but it should be Ben Butler that's got a convincing lead in this race as the time counts down almost to 0. Still watching this battle though coming through that features John Jenkins and Chris Didcott and Veludo and Morgan Bartley. I think as part of it, leaders already on their way down towards the Robert Chicane for the final time though. Here he is, Ben Butler has led since Ian Slark pulled off on the opening lap of the race. He's not had some of the dramas that others have had, so it's going to be Ben Butler that comes through to win the first race in the new era of Mighty Mini racing, and it's a very comfortable win indeed for him as well. He looks pretty pleased with that, I would say. Second place goes the way of Trevor Peters, 5.5 seconds behind, and a podium on debut for Ben's son Talbot. I think there'll be some very happy scenes at the end of this Mighty Mini race. Ollie Samways takes 4th, Sam Slater gets 5th back from Matthew Baker on the final lap, and we have the dramas from the copies on the penultimate lap. John Jenkins 7th, Chris Didcott, Ruben Veludo and Morgan Bartley complete the top 10, Josh.
Yes, that's right. So I think the drivers have got to the end. We've got these just to have survived, proving how difficult the conditions are out there at Donington Park. Just waiting for one more car to come through, which is Claire Jeffries, who may be in strife actually. Very slow out of the chicane for the former evented horse competitor who represented Team GB back in 2011, but I'm afraid for her the race is over just before it finished.
Yeah, exactly, straight into the pit lane that she has gone, so she's not really taken the checkered flag on the racetrack, so we'll see if she's actually classified in this race or not. So cars making their way around on the slowing down lap here before they'll get into the clutches. The top 3 drivers of Andy McEwen. Let's have a look at the results from the race that we've just seen there, the first of the Mighty Mini races today. Number 43, Ben Butler won. He completed 9 laps. Second was number 44, Trevor Peters, 5.5 seconds behind him. Third was number 24, Tal Butler, another 2.1 seconds behind that. 4th place went to number 58, Ollie Samways, and 5th was 93, Sam Slater. Matthew Baker from the back of the grid took 6th place in the number 61 car, ahead of John Jenkins, number 64. 7th place, he was 7th. 8th one was number 40, Chris Didcott. 9th was 55, Ruben Veludo. Rounding out the top 10 was number 13, Morgan Bartley, with Claire Jeffries, as we say, heading straight to the pit lane just before the checkered flag. James Jenkins and Will Tyrrell among the drivers that we lost during that race. Add to that Stephen Rideout, Ian Slark, Paul Hollett, and the number 38 car of James Bryan as well. So Mighty Mini is due out for a second race of the day at 4:30 this afternoon, Josh.
Yes, and we'll see if the weather changes at all for then. Certainly for now, it's raining. A lot of umbrellas for the hardy spectators here at Donington Park. For those of you watching at home, thanks for joining us on the 750 Motor Club live stream. Make sure you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, because there's lots of 750 Motor Club live streams throughout the season, including more this week, because at the weekend, Croft Circuit will host the opening rounds for several more 750 Motor Club categories, where hopefully better weather will greet you up in North Yorkshire.
Yes, we were certainly hoping for that. We'll be looking forward to that. We'll have Kira Mogg alongside myself, Ian Seaman in the commentary box for that one. And it should be great. Always have a great time at Croft Circuit up there in North Yorkshire. First of 2 events this season at the circuit. For the 750 Motor Club. You can see the cars heading down the pit lane, and it's at the far end of the pit lane where we will find Andy McEwen ready to speak to our top 3 drivers at the end of the Mighty Mini Championship race.
Thank Thank you, guys. Well, emotional scenes down here, actually, at the end of the pit lane. Ben Butler, as he came in, very, very overcome with emotion at the race victory.